All right, welcome in. Welcome back to the Outsider Sports Football Podcast here on Wednesday, April 17th. I got my guys Ben Mandel, Corey Jason, and John Pauline with a rare appearance here on football. We had to bring him over from baseball for this one. The last group mock draft for the Outsider Sports brand before the real draft gets started next week out in Detroit Rock City. And we're going to rock this one. This is a live mock draft. So what we did 2 weeks ago was Ben, Corey, Dylan, and I did the draft a little bit ahead of time. We randomized that order, cycled through it a couple different times throughout the entire first round. This time with John, what we did was we randomized every 4 picks. So it's not going to be, here at the top, it's Corey, Ben, myself, and then John. The next 4, it'll be a little bit different, so on and so forth. We're doing this all live as we record as well for the suspense. And trades are allowed this time around, guys. Trades are allowed. We want to make sure that this is suspenseful and just all sorts of wackiness. And we're going to have some fun with this. I'm going to go ahead and hit the start draft button. Corey, once again, representing the Chicago Bears, first overall. We all have an idea who it's going to be, but
No,
nothing
you
can
don't.
be for certain. Go ahead. What's your pick, buddy?
So last week when we did this, I picked Caleb Williams over a long, contemplation. I was really between him and Spencer Rattler, and I'm still having that internal, scuffle. But I think I do need to go Caleb Williams as the first overall pick. I just think he's slightly better.
Understandable there. No surprise really. Caleb Williams is regarded as the top guy. It was made ever so more clear once Chicago moved on from Justin Fields. So Caleb Williams is the pick there. Washington, once again represented by Ben, now on the clock.
Yeah, and look, I think the biggest thing with Washington is I think they fell in love with the quarterback, and Jaden Daniels is that guy. And that's who Washington is going to be taking with the number 2 pick. I know he's all the way down there, but that's who Washington's going with. It's Jaden Daniels. It's a guy who can move. He's accurate. That's the kind of quarterback that Cliff Kingsbury likes.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to see Jaden Daniels as well. I think he could end up being maybe the top one. Obviously, Caleb Williams, the most talented prospect, but we know Chicago's history of developing quarterbacks. I like the situation. Not that Washington's great either in that regard, but with Cliff Kingsbury there and a steady hand at head coach with Dan Quinn, I like that situation a little bit better. Now for New England at 3, this is already where we're going to start throwing things at the wall here. As I was hitting the big red record button, Ben and I were texting. The Chicago Bears are going to go ahead and make a trade.
Yeah, the Bears are going to trade up from number 9. They're going to pull a Texans move here. They see a huge franchise caliber piece, and this is where we're going to get a wrench because the Chicago Bears are going to end up sending the number 9 pick, this year's 2nd pick, and the next year's 1st rounder in turn for the number 3 overall pick. And with this pick, the Chicago Bears are going to take Marvin Harrison.
What is this? Can we not do trades?
Interesting. What made New England accept this pick?
New England needs a lot more, and they don't have a quarterback that they love. It wasn't Caleb, so
I'm exposing myself. I have to subscribe to PFF Plus to unlock draft trades.
Oh, I think you got to subscribe now.
I think not.
Free trial.
What if we wipe it away?
Wipe the trade off.
Wipe the trade off. New England picks at 3.
Well, if New England was going to pick at 3, it was just going to be Drake Maye.
So what are we going to go with? New England or
Ben,
Marvin?
who's your pick? Marvin?
It was Marvin, yeah.
I think we'll just, for the viewers on YouTube, just pretend that this is a C.
Yeah, we'll let this be Marvin to the Bears, and then when the Bears pick comes back up, we just know that that's Ryan's pick with the Pats.
That's New England, yeah. So right now, Arizona on the clock. They're a big team considered to be trading down. John, do you have a trade in line, or will Arizona be sticking and picking here with Marvin off the board now?
Arizona's going to stick here and pick. I was gonna take Marv. I was gonna have him take
Mhm.
Marvin. Personally, I don't think there's like a receiver worth it right now to take. So, and I think you can never go wrong with, O-line guys. So I'm gonna have them take Joe Alt.
Wow.
Good riddance.
Helping Kyler Murray stay up. We know Corey's feelings on Joe Alt.
Can't go
If
wrong
anyone
with an
against Joe
offensive
Alt,
line.
Okay. Well, you have your agenda there with the Giants at 6. We're well aware. But for the
chemistry.
Chargers at 5, Jim Harbaugh. Ben is back up. Again, this is the next group of 4 picks here.
Yeah, and obviously I had a plan in place for the Chargers, and I think they really do want Joe Alt. I think that's the Jim Harbaugh pick, is an offensive lineman. But there's another guy that they really like, and now they have the perfect excuse to take him, and it is Brock Bowers. Joe Alt's off the board. You're going to be able to find other good tackles later on in the draft. This is a very deep tackle draft. You're going to take Brock Bowers. You lost tons on the offensive side, weapons-wise. Why not go get who I think is the most all-around talented offensive player that's not a quarterback in this draft than Brock Bowers?
Yeah, so we come to the Giants now at 6. John is in control of this pick. We know Corey was team Neighbors. Ben was team Alt. Alt is off the board. Neighbors is still there. John, you have a plan here?
So, originally I was gonna go with JJ McCarthy at this pick. But now that Drake May's there, I'm gonna have the Giants take Drake May at this pick. I think they got to move on from Daniel Jones.
Somebody sensible, finally.
Yep.
Got to
Drake
move
May
on.
falls down into the Giants' lap at 6. I'm here with the Titans at 7. To me, this has to be their offensive line is a mess. I will go Talise Fuaga here. Just the next kind of big tackle up on that board. Obviously, it's one thing for me to sit here and look at this list. It's up to the Titans and their evaluation. Whoever they have slotted behind Joe Alt, because I'm sure Alt is their top guy on the offensive line, that's who I will kind of predict the Titans go with there. Atlanta at 8. That pick belongs to Mr. Corey.
I think Atlanta, looking at their roster, their defense needs some help. You bring in a defensive-minded head coach, they got to work on some stuff. So I'm going to take who I believe is the best defensive player in the draft. I'm going to take Dallas Turner and send him to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's been a pick that a lot of people have been mocking. It's one that certainly fits. I was watching the PFF mock draft from, I believe it was on Monday of this week. Great point raised there. Even though the person that did the mock draft, I'm blanking on his name, ended up going Jared Verse, the other colleague on the video, talked about Dallas Turner at Alabama dropping into coverage and how no other edge rusher did that as much as him. And then you look at Raheem Morris with the Rams. No team did that with their edge linebackers more than the Rams. So I think the fit is certainly there. And as long as Dallas Turner's there at 8, that's where the Falcons will look to. Now, from our trade down earlier with Ben, this is now the Patriots pick. And I mean, you could go a bunch of different ways. John wanted to do it with the Giants at 6. I'm going to have to go JJ McCarthy. They're going to hitch their wagon to the Michigan quarterback. The New England Patriots will, after trading down, giving up Drake May, they get JJ McCarthy and some extra draft capital, hopefully, to further bolster that roster up in Foxborough and help McCarthy out. But now for the Jets, this is me again, actually. And I mean, Malik Neighbors, the fall has to stop here, right? Get Aaron Rodgers another weapon, pair him with Garrett Wilson. They signed Mike Williams, but that was only a one-year deal, and who's to say he even plays every game this year? Malik Neighbors and Garrett Wilson could end up being the best receiver 1-2, or really 1A and 1B pretty quick. Now the Vikings at 11. Back to Corey.
Yeah, with the Vikings, I was initially looking quarterback here, hoping that maybe J.J. McCarthy would fall. But taking this at what I believe each quarterback is worth and what their positional value and round value is, I don't believe any of the remaining quarterbacks are worthy of the 11 pick. So that's why I'm going to turn heel now and bolster up the defense with Byron Murphy. If the Vikings aren't going to get their quarterback of the future in round 1, might as well bolster up that defense and attack the passer.
Over to John with Denver, the 12th overall pick. Another team potentially in the quarterback sweepstakes, potentially moving up, but here they stay at 12.
So I gotta see. Ben, you're killing me. You're killing me, Ben.
No, that's what I meant to say.
You're killing me.
Care to
Ben's
share with
over.
the class?
Ben's over.
Trade talks going on here.
Yeah,
Ben's trying to trade the Minnesota pick. Have Minnesota.
I meant to say Denver. They're right next to each other on the list.
No, but I don't think. Who
Not a
just went?
problem. I have
Too busy,
other
so-
suitors.
I'm about to get a text in a minute, aren't I?
My phone's on and I got nothing. So
Oh,
Are you sure about
Okay.
that, Corey?
So I think. I don't think they're gonna trade away. I think Denver, they really want to get a quarterback now. I mean, they haven't had. I don't think they haven't had a quarterback, like an actual French quarterback, and I think in a very long time, and stuff. And they just let Wilson go and stuff. And so I think they're gonna take Michael Penix Jr. I'm gonna go with Michael Penix Jr.
I like that there. Michael Penix has a couple health concerns, but I think he could end up being a steal of this draft, much like Lamar was in 2018 when the Ravens traded back in at the end of round 1. Maybe Penix goes as early as here. We'll see come next week. But the Raiders now staying in the AFC West, 13th overall. John with the back-to-backs as the cycles reset here.
And I think they're gonna go with. So they probably go with the. They think they're gonna probably go with another quarterback too. I would think so. I'm gonna have them taking Bo Nix.
Quarterback run continues as we get into the teens here. The New Orleans Saints at 14. That pick for the moment belongs to Corey.
yeah, right now we're working on the clock. After Bo Nix was gone, which was a consideration, as was Penix, we are thinking about where we want to go with this pick. And we are trying to decide. But as it happens, the phone was ringing and the pick is leaving.
Oh, boy.
The Buffalo Bills have traded up to 14 with the New Orleans Saints in exchange for a pick swap plus a 2 and a 5. So the Bills are going to 14. The Saints are going to 28. And is now in Ben's hands.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills. There is one very clear reason why they did this. And I have been trying, as being the person picking for Buffalo, to get up here seeing Rome Odunze still on the board. And that's who the Bills are going to take. You have to get Josh Allen a weapon. And hey, if he is there at 14 and Buffalo is able to make this move happen, doesn't matter what picks you need to give up, you get that weapon for Josh Allen, especially with Diggs gone. The offense, there's no one there. Even like Gabe Davis is gone. So, I mean, there's holes. Rome Odunze is a good first step in filling that.
Yeah, surprised to see. I mean, it's the way it falls out, especially with all these quarterbacks going. Rome Odunze. Some people have him going above Neighbors even. So seeing his fall definitely surprising. Makes sense a team would trade up for him. Indianapolis at 15. Ben, I'm going to trust you here, my friend. Make the right call.
Yeah, I think honestly at this point, Indianapolis is going to go and take Cooper DeJean. I think that this is a strong move, helps solidify the defense. You have some great quarterbacks in this division. Some great quarterbacks. Take the best cornerback on the board. That's Cooper DeJean out of Iowa.
Are you sure?
100%, Ryan. That's where we're going. I had a plan. Look at the needs. Look at the needs. That was one of them.
Not the top one, though.
Yeah, but Roma Dunza just got taken, so.
Brian Thomas. He's fun. All right. Seattle at 16.
He's fun.
I'm just saying. I don't know about Cooper DeJean myself. Seattle at 16, they could go a lot of different ways. Obviously, very young roster. They're known a decade ago, the Legion of Boom. Quinion Mitchell, a very athletic corner as well. Is it one of their needs? No, but it's a reliable way. Now, all of a sudden, they have some other really good young corners. First rounder Devin Witherspoon last year, Reek Woolen. Maybe one of them, you start getting into some really creative defensive packages, especially with their new head coach coming over from Baltimore. To me, Mitchell's just far and away the best player on this board right now. That's who they're going to take. Follow best player available. Sometimes we forget that's what teams do in the first round. They don't always draft based on need. And, of course, eventually you're going to have to pay Reek Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. Not always possible. Next guy up. And now this is a very formidable young secondary for many years to come up in the Pacific Northwest. Jacksonville back down in Florida with Corey's pick.
So I had this pick the last time we did a mock draft, and my reasoning is the same. Brian Thomas Jr. will be a Jaguar. They need help. They need to get Trevor Lawrence weapons, especially with Calvin Ridley going. I believe he went to the Titans, right? They need athleticism, and Brian Thomas Jr. brings all of that, and I think it'll be an excellent pick for them.
I perfectly makes sense. I would absolutely hate it as a Colts fan, but Cincinnati at 18, this is another team that is very interesting. Obviously, you have the T. Higgins situation. How much longer will he be there? Is this roster going to need a huge reset? But I like Johnny Newton. This is a pick that's gaining a lot of steam as well. Big force in the interior defensive line after they brought in some other kind of rotational guys, some older veteran players. Getting comped maybe a little bit too highly to the Bengals' great Geno Atkins, which makes me very excited for this potential pick here. Johnny Jerzon Newton to the Cincinnati Bengals. And at 19 with the Los Angeles Rams, their first-round pick since taking Jared Goff all those years ago. The power is in John's hands. What will they do?
I think I'm going to have them take the first Penn Stater off the board here. I don't know how to pronounce his first name.
Fashanu.
Yeah, but his first name. What's his first? Can you pronounce his first name?
Olu.
That's not. There's a lot more letters there than Olu.
Yes, but he goes by Olu Fashanu.
I'm gonna have him take Olu.
Have to wait till draft day to figure out how that one is.
Let's see it, Roger. Get it right, buddy.
Oh, he's gonna give how they have the special guests do it. He's gonna have that be a special guest. It's gonna be one of the little kids that they bring up.
I know that's how they do it. Roger sits there and he says, all right, you're not just announcing this team's pick. You're announcing this player wherever he goes. That's when we're going to wheel you out. Pittsburgh at 20 belongs to Ben. What's Pittsburgh here?
Look, Pittsburgh, there's a lot of different directions that they can go. I think that they want another tackle. And, at the same time, it's tough to pass up on Latu. But I think Troy Fautanu has to be taken here. It's a slam dunk.
They'll continue to build that offensive line out in the Steel City. Miami at 21. John, what's your pick for the Dolphins?
Oh, I am underprepared for this.
Not what you want to hear from an NFL.
Not what you want to hear.
That's not what you want to hear.
That feels Miami, though.
I know it does feel Miami.
Laid back.
Go with the flow.
That's a Mike McDaniel answer at the podium.
Really?
I was not prepared for this.
Not prepared for
draft. I thought it was tomorrow.
That's the way it works out for Miami.
They give him an interview, just like, why'd you pick him? We weren't prepared. This is what happened.
He just told us to be prepared. Where's Jameis? Did Did he end up somewhere? Is he in Cleveland?
I think he is in Cleveland. I think he
yeah,
is.
I think he went to Cleveland. Oh, he went
Dogs
somewhere.
with the dog pound.
They got more backup quarterbacks than starters.
You know, I'm gonna go with a tackle here. I think kind of give they're gonna kind of want to protect um Mariota. Not Mar- Oh my God, not Mariota.
John,
My Lord,
You good?
I am not good.
J.C. Latham.
Oh God, I just. Oh no. They're gonna want to protect Tua a little bit more, and I think they're gonna take J.C. Latham.
Yeah, Miami going offensive line. You start sorting through the draft rumors. That's kind of one that's creeping up a lot. Is don't be surprised Miami to go leaning towards the offensive line early in this draft, whether it be first round, maybe second round. Philly at 22. Dylan and John are shaking as a Giants fan is in charge of this pick. Where are the Eagles going?
Say he gave us Drake.
Punter, kicker, long snapper.
Look, I gave the Giants a new quarterback.
They are going
Spencer
cornerback
Rattler.
Nate Wiggins, shoring up that secondary. A pick I would hate, but I think he's going to be a beast there in that secondary. John, did I do okay?
You know what? I like it.
All right, Nate Wiggins, the Clemson corner, Minnesota. By way of a couple different trades, Houston and Cleveland was the original owner of this pick, but the Vikings, their second first rounder, belongs to Ben.
Yeah, and look, the Vikings, didn't necessarily jump on the quarterback train before, but we've gotten through the big five, right? Knicks is gone. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much who do we go with Minnesota on the first pick? Who do they go with, Corey?
They went with
Byron Murphy.
Byron Murphy.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, look. You could go on the direction of Jared Verse and really try to just beef up the defensive line. You can go a couple of different directions here. If you're the Minnesota Vikings, I do think you're going to stick with the defensive side of the ball here, and it's going to be Terrion Arnold. You get the cornerback. You already have someone on the defensive line again. Latu sitting in my lap to take. I think he is probably the most underrated edge in this draft, and it is showing in our mock here because he continues to fall.
Yeah, Dallas here at 24. I mean, this is a pick that I had the last time we did a mock. This is the same pick I'm going to go again. Adonai Mitchell staying in state, pairing CeeDee Lamb up with a running mate for Dak Prescott. They need to get more fleshed out offensively. Losing Tony Pollard, I mean, going all in on Tony Pollard to begin with last year didn't really work out. The run game suffered for that. Now he goes off to Tennessee. Need another weapon offensively. We'll see how the defense manages, but Dallas certainly kind of in a weird state right now, like they've been for about 3 decades, but you're starting to feel it more, I think. Adonai Mitchell will help even that out a little bit. Green Bay at 25. John, who's their pick?
I'm looking at, who's available here, and some of these guys, that are available here are like ranked like almost 10 spots higher. This was higher, and they're still here. And I think, Ben, just said his name. He's falling down here, a lot, and I mean, honestly, if he falls down this far, I mean, your Packers looking at it, I think the Packers defense was, a little, could use a little help there. And, sometimes, that edge rusher is, something that gives you that spark there. So I'm going to have him take Latu.
Latu's the pick there. With Tampa at 26, I'm going to have them going a similar way. Jared Verse, this is a guy that could certainly be the first edge rusher off the board, as high as Atlanta at 8 if they don't go Dallas Turner. Instead, he falls all the way down here to 26. And that's just the nature of the business when we're projecting all these quarterbacks early on like that. in reality, I don't see it working out this way. I think some of these other players will go higher. Like John said, you see some of these ADPs. It evened out a little more now after those last 2 picks. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at, I think Latu's was 17,
He was
18
10.
versus was higher. Yeah, much higher than where we're at now at this point. But Arizona at 27, Corey, you're in charge for the Cardinals. Their second pick.
Yeah, the Cardinals, their second pick after taking who they taking the first? The Cardinals?
Joe Alt.
Joe Alt. They're going to go to the other side of the ball and take Chop Robinson. Going to beef up that D line. And the Cardinals are just going to build up from the trenches.
Yeah, that was a pick that I remember Dylan had in our last mock draft. I think Robinson's even garnered some more steam since then, these last 2 weeks. He could find his name getting called earlier than 27. Now, New Orleans, their trade earlier in the night. That's their pick right now.
And New Orleans is sticking with me, and we're going to take the best offensive lineman on the board. You saw a bunch go, some that I was hoping would fall, but Amarius Mims from Georgia, Ben can tell you how good he is. I think he's going to fit very well down in NOLA.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Detroit, Corey with 3 picks in a row, thanks to that
3
trade.
in a row. Yeah, Detroit, my final pick of this mock draft. They're going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry. They're going to get that secondary, get it out, get it going. You saw how much of an issue that was in the playoffs. They're going to get the best cornerback available.
So I think that that's the pick that they're looking at coming into this draft. I think they are looking and hoping to get Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think if they feel like they need to move up, they're going to. This is perfect scenario for Detroit. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is the guy that they are coming in looking to draft.
Yeah, I think he definitely fits the Detroit style of football right now with Dan Campbell up there. And they went to the Alabama well last year with Brian Branch. He was someone I thought was going to go round 1. He goes middle of round 2, worked out very well for them. Baltimore here at 30, just shy of reaching the championship game, the Super Bowl. John, your last pick in this mock draft. Where are you looking for Baltimore?
John, you're muted.
You're muted, John.
Come in, John.
You know what? I coughed and I never unmuted my mic. That's my bad. Told you I'm really unprepared.
I blame whoever invited you. Don't worry.
This was a last minute thing.
That was last minute.
It
From
was
Miami,
very
I
last
expect
minute.
this, but Baltimore's typically a well-run organization. I would think if they cough, they have the wherewithal to.
Can you imagine missing your draft pick?
That's happened before.
Auto draft.
I think that happened with Baltimore. Or
That
was it
happened, didn't
Minnesota?
It was Minnesota. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe Baltimore is the team that jumped them, but
You know, with Baltimore, I'm thinking like the thing here. I mean, I don't think there's not really any receivers that jump out to me like right here that I don't think they can't get like a similar talent like in the second round or anything. And I feel like a safe bet, like always, I feel like offensive line is such a underlooked part of the game. And when you look at what teams do well, they always have a good O-line. So I'm going to have them taking Graham Barton.
the tackle from Duke there goes to Baltimore at 30. San Francisco at 31 here. Ben, your last pick, the penultimate pick here of our mock draft. The Niners roster.
And look, I think when it comes to San Francisco, you're going to have – I think this pick right here is going to be to try and take the best wide receiver that Kyle Shanahan thinks is available, because it looks like Brandon Ayuk is not going to be there. And I think you're going to try and replace that. The rest of the roster looks pretty good. It's intact for the most part. Yeah, you're going to lose some pieces here and there. There really aren't a ton of wide receivers. I was just going to say, really, it's Troy Franklin and Ladd McConkey. Little too early for Roman Wilson. I like McConkey a lot. Neither of these guys is Brandon Ayuk. Franklin is a bit bigger, so I'm going to go on the Troy Franklin end, although – like I said last time when we were doing this, Ladd McConkey is the best route runner in this draft. So
no bias.
You can't go wrong with either one. but Troy Franklin is going to be who San Francisco goes with.
Yeah, and I like to hear you talking up Ladd, because as much as I would love to see Xavier Worthy in this Kansas City offense, the fact of the matter is now, even they bring in Marquise Brown through free agency, Rashee Rice has the off-the-field concerns. We'll see what kind of – we're assuming a suspension is incoming. For how long, we don't know yet. And the receiver position, I mean, they went and won 2 Super Bowls in a post-Tyreek Hill world. That doesn't mean that this isn't the position offensively that needs to be improved the most. And again, the speed of Worthy is very enticing, but his stock just isn't getting built up like John Ross's was several years ago for his 40-yard dash time. And like you said, McConkey, certainly the best route runner. That's where I'm going for Kansas City. The lad from Georgia going to Kansas City to play with Patrick Mahomes, and that'll do it. Our first round
I do want to add to that, Ryan. Like, you think about it with Kansas City, yeah, they've shifted from offensive powerhouse to, in the post-Tyreek era, having this good defense. Well, eventually the defense is going to start to walk. You're only going to be able to pay select guys, and it's going to shift back. It's very easy when you have Patrick Mahomes to load up the offense. It starts by drafting wide receivers early.
Yeah. And I mean, that's evident already, them moving on from a guy like L'Jarius Sneed.
Mm-hmm.
So Kansas City, they can kind of go whatever way they want, whether it's receiver, offensive line, defense. That's the victor goes the spoils sort of scenario when they have a roster and a coach and a quarterback like that. I'm looking at this draft. It all makes sense. I think we just predicted perfectly all 32 picks. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think the trades are spot on.
Oh, I think that we've run into some issues here. I like a lot of our picks, but I think that some of them might have been a couple reaches.
Like which one?
Yeah, what's your biggest reach, Corey?
Come on, Corey.
I don't think we get 5 first-round quarterbacks to start.
I don't think we get 5 first-round quarterbacks this early. Because once Bo Nix was taken, it was like, okay, that's it.
That's really my biggest.
Yeah, I mean, that's 6 in the top 15.
Yeah, I just
a lot of teams need quarterbacks, though.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that there are 5 caliber. But if
I think there's
New England doesn't end up taking
quarterbacks.
Say New England not taking a quarterback, I mean, look, we have New England taking J.J. McCarthy, but New England not taking one at 3. If they trade back, they're likely not taking a quarterback. So that's where, you run into a few things. If you have Denver and Vegas taking them back late, those are the teams you expect to trade up into that top 3 with maybe New England. But, yeah, there's definitely a lot of moving pieces, and it really depends what Washington does it to. Who they decide to go with.
I think we nailed the top 2 picks of the draft.
Well, I mean, we've been consistent with it. I'll give us that.
Yeah, at this point, I will be surprised if it's Drake May over Jaden Daniels to Washington at 2.
I wouldn't be surprised either, but I think that Jaden Daniels, if Cliff Kingsbury has as much of a say in it as he should as the offensive coordinator with a defensive coach, it should be Jaden Daniels. Because that's his quarterback. That's the quarterback that fits his offense and what he does best.
And I look at this too, and I have an opinion, I guess, or a thought on Minnesota that I'll share next week when we talk about our first round bold predictions. I'll hype next week's show up a little bit. But I mean, if you're a Vikings fan, you walk away. Obviously, everyone's anticipating a trade up for a quarterback. If you walk away with maybe the best interior defender on the line and maybe the best cornerback prospects, I think you have to be pretty happy with that.
Especially with the way the defense has been.
Yeah.
Good offenses coming in that division. And, especially if Chicago does that trade-up move, you get Caleb and Marvin Harrison along with the weapons they already have on that offense.
I also do think that not enough was given up in that trade.
Yeah. I think we weren't getting into specifics, whatever, but
yeah,
when you look at the end of the day, what if the Bears want to? They have enough pieces on their roster where they can give up the capital to move up to number 3 and jump Arizona for Marvin.
even if they, I'm sure they did their due diligence. If they love Neighbors, if they love Odunze similarly to how they love Marvin, because plenty of people will tell you Marvin's not as far and away as some other people make it out to be. Chicago might not have to jump all the way to 3. They could jump up maybe with the Chargers at 5, maybe with the Giants at 6.
Where do we hear that first? Where do we hear that Marvin might not be by far and away the best in the draft class?
I know it wasn't from me.
Look,
I can't.
I'm going to say this. I think Marvin's really good. I think that there are a ton of really talented wide receivers in this draft. So, yeah, obviously Chicago could just stand pat at number 9. But what's the fun in that? There are always good pass rushers in drafts that you could find late. But if you have the one that you want and you like, that's who you go get. You saw that's what the Texans did. And again, you saw how well it worked out for them last year.
And that was in a much tougher, tougher conference as well. You look at the Bears, and again, you forget. Yeah, they're sitting here first overall. That's by way of Carolina. This was a 7-win team last year in the NFC. You're going to drop Caleb Williams.
By the way, Sauce Gardner. The Bears have 2 top 10 picks. I don't know if you guys saw that, but Sauce Gardner looked at a mock draft and was like, "Wait, what? The Bears have 2 top 10 picks with that talented roster?
Who'd they fleece to get that?"
Yep.
His was in Chicago. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode for this mock draft. Join us next week, the week of the draft. We're going to be talking about the first round, some bold predictions, maybe some mild predictions as well for those that can't handle the heat, but just an in general sense of what we kind of see happening Thursday night as the 2024 NFL draft kicks off. So join us next week here on the Outsider Sports Football Podcast, and thanks again for listening to another great episode.